There's a couple in your city right now sitting at a kitchen table with a laptop open and a real estate app pulled up on both of their phones. They've been doing this for 8 months. Every Sunday. Same ritual. Coffee. Zillow. Quiet devastation. They found one last week that felt right. 3 bedrooms. Decent school district. 1 car garage. The kind of house where you could actually picture your life happening inside it. List price. $387,000. They got pre-approved for $380,000, which the lender told them with genuine enthusiasm was a great number. They put in an offer at $394,000. Waived the inspection. Wrote a letter about their dog. Lost to a cash offer at $411,000 from someone they will never meet. They closed the laptop, poured the rest of the coffee down the sink, and started the whole thing over again next Sunday. My name is Nick, and today we are going to do the math, the mortgage industry, the real estate industry, and every excited relative asking when you're going to stop throwing money away on rent desperately does not want you to do. We are going to figure out who can actually afford to buy a house in 2026. Not who the bank will approve. Not who can technically make the payment for the first 3 months before something breaks. Who can actually afford it, without quietly dismantling every other part of their financial life to pull it off. Let's start with the number that should be on the front page of every newspaper in America, but somehow isn't. In 1970, the median American home cost about 2.4 times the median household income. You made $10,000 a year. The house cost $24,000. The math was uncomfortable, but it was survivable. By 2000, that ratio had crept up to about 3.5 times. Still painful. Still workable for a 2-income household with discipline. In 2026, the median home sale price in America is approximately $419,000. The median household income is $83,730. That is 5 times. Almost exactly 5 times. And in the places where most people actually want to live, where the jobs are, where the school districts are decent, where you can get to work without a 90-minute commute each way. The ratio is worse. Much worse. San Jose. Median home price. $1.4 million. Median household income. $130,000. That's 10.7 times. Los Angeles. Median home. $860,000. Median income. $76,000. That's 11.3 times. Austin, which everyone moved to because it was supposed to be affordable. Median home $535,000. Median income $78,000. That's 6.8 times. Denver, $575,000 home. $72,000 income. 8 times. Even the cities that used to be the escape valve, the places you moved when you couldn't afford the coasts, are now priced at ratios that would have looked like a typo in 2010. The traditional financial rule of thumb. The one your parents probably used. The one every personal finance book written before 2015 will tell you. Is that your home should cost no more than 2.5 to 3 times your annual gross income. Under that rule, the median American household earning $83,730 should be shopping for homes in the $210,000 to $250,000 range. The median home costs $419,000. There is a $170,000 gap between what the rule says you can afford and what the market is actually selling. And that gap, that specific gap, is the entire story. So here's the first uncomfortable truth. Under traditional financial guidelines, The median American household cannot afford the median American home. Not even close. Not in the same zip code as close. The median home is not a luxury property. It is not a penthouse. It is not a historic Victorian in a walkable neighborhood with a wine bar on the corner. The median home is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage in a suburb somewhere. It is the responsible choice, the reasonable choice, the starter home. And it costs twice what the average American household can actually afford by any reasonable financial measure. But let's not stop at the purchase price. Because the purchase price is the smallest number in this equation. And the mortgage industry has spent billions of dollars making sure you think about the purchase price and nothing else. Here's how buying a house actually works in 2026. You've found the house. It costs $419,000. The lender, who has been extremely friendly and called you back within the hour, tells you that with 10% down and a 30-year fixed mortgage, your monthly payment will be around $2,800. Sounds manageable. You're paying $1,900 in rent right now. That's only $900 more a month, right? You can do that. Except that $2,800 number is a magic trick. It is specifically designed to be the only number you remember when you leave the office. Let's add the rest. Property taxes. The national average effective property tax rate is about 1.1% of home value per year. On a $419,000 home, that's $4,600 a year. Or $384 a month. Some states are worse. Texas runs closer to 1.8%, which on this home would be $628 a month just in property taxes. Illinois averages 2.08%. New Jersey sits at 2.23%. The state with the lowest rate, Hawaii at 0.27%. Also happens to have a median home price of $835,000. There is no winning. Homeowners insurance. The national average is now $2,270 a year. Up 23% in the last 2 years as insurance companies quietly start pricing in climate risk, wildfire exposure, and the fact that weather in America has become genuinely alarming. That's $189 a month. In Florida, it's closer to $3,600 to $6,000 a year if you can find coverage at all. 3 major insurers have stopped writing new policies in Florida entirely. Which is fine because what could go wrong in Florida? Private mortgage insurance. If you put less than 20% down, the lender charges you PMI as insurance against the possibility that you default. On a 10% down payment on a $419,000 home, PMI runs approximately $150 to $200 a month. That's a fee you pay to the bank for not having enough money, which is a very specific kind of financial poetry. HOA fees. If you're buying in any development built in the last 25 years, there's a reasonable chance you're looking at a homeowners association. The national average HOA fee is $170 a month. In condo buildings, townhome communities, or anything with a pool, a gym, or landscaping somebody else mows, it can run $400 to $800 a month. And the HOA board will raise it whenever they feel like it. That's not a criticism. That's just what HOA boards do. Maintenance and repairs. Every financial planner worth their license will tell you to budget 1% to 2% of your home's value per year for maintenance. On a $419,000 home, that's $4,190 to $8,380 a year, or $350 to $700 a month. The roof doesn't care that you just paid $12,000 in closing costs. The water heater doesn't care that you're stretched thin. The HVAC system, which is going to die on the hottest day in August at exactly 5 p.m. on a Friday before a long weekend, absolutely does not care. It just costs $7,000 to replace and it will happen. Let's add this all up. Mortgage, principal and interest, $2,800. Property taxes, $384. Homeowners insurance, $189. PMI, $175. HOA fees, $170. Maintenance reserve, $525. Total monthly cost of owning the median American home, $4,243. That is the real number, not $2,800. $4,243 every month. Before you've bought a single piece of furniture, paid a utility bill, or replaced the one appliance that was clearly on its way out the day you did the walkthrough, but you didn't want to make it a whole thing. Now let's figure out what income you actually need to support $4,243 a month in housing costs. The standard guideline is that housing costs should not exceed 28% of your gross monthly income. That's the number lenders use. That's the number financial planners use. That's the threshold at which housing costs stop being manageable and start being the thing that quietly reorganizes your entire life around themselves. To keep $4,243 at or under 28% of your gross income, you need to be earning at least $181,800 a year. $181,800. That puts you in approximately the top 20% of American household earners. Not the top 1%. Not the top 5%. The top 20%. And this is the median home we're talking about. The average one. The one that statistically represents the midpoint of all homes sold in America. If you want to buy the median home in this country and not have it eat your financial life, you need to be earning in the top fifth of all American households. Let's meet someone navigating exactly this. Meet Marcus and Priya. Marcus is 33. He's a senior project manager at a mid-size logistics company in the suburbs of Nashville. Makes $91,000 a year. Which is solid. Which is more than his dad ever made. Priya is 31. She's a dental hygienist, makes $68,000. Combined household income, $159,000 a year. Which puts them solidly in the upper middle class. Top 25% of American households. They have been renting a 2-bedroom apartment for $1,750 a month for 3 years. No kids yet. 1 dog. A reasonable amount of student debt. $340 a month combined. They have $52,000 in savings, which took them 4 years to accumulate, and felt like a genuine accomplishment right up until they started shopping for houses. Here is what Marcus and Priya discovered. The homes in their price range. The ones that fit comfortably inside what they thought they could afford based on their pre-approval letter, are not in Nashville. They are 40 minutes from Nashville in subdivisions where the nearest grocery store is a 15-minute drive, and the school district has a rating that makes Priya go quiet for a minute before she changes the subject. The homes in the neighborhoods they actually want to live in. The ones with walkable streets and a coffee shop, and the school district that won't require private school as a fallback. Start at $480,000. Most are $520,000 to $580,000. The lender approved them for $520,000. The lender was thrilled about this. The lender mentioned it 3 times. So Marcus ran the real numbers. On a $520,000 home with 10% down, 30-year fixed at 6.8%. The all-in monthly cost including taxes, insurance, PMI, HOA, and maintenance reserve is $5,180 a month. Their combined take-home after taxes and benefits is approximately $9,600 a month. Housing would consume 54% of their take-home pay. Their student loans take another $340. 2 car payments, $780. Insurance on both cars, $280. Groceries, $700. Utilities, $300. That leaves $1,000 a month. For everything. For the rest of their lives. For retirement. For the car repair. For the medical bill. For the trip to see Priya's family in Phoenix. For the dog's emergency vet visit that is statistically going to happen within the next 18 months. Priya sat with that number for a long time. $1,000. They earn $159,000 a year, and they would have $1,000 a month left. Less than the cheapest studio apartment in their city. That's the gap. That's the trap. That's what getting approved actually means in 2026. Now let's zoom out for a second because I need you to understand how we got here. Because this didn't happen by accident. Housing didn't get this expensive because of bad luck or bad weather or a temporary supply problem. That's about to resolve itself. The reason the median home costs 5 times the median income instead of 2.5 is a specific sequence of decisions made by specific people that were profitable for them and catastrophic for everyone. Trying to buy a house after 2015. From 2012 to 2022. The Federal Reserve held interest rates near zero for a decade. It was an emergency measure that became permanent. Cheap money flooded into assets. Stocks went up. Bonds went up. Real estate went up. Institutional investors, hedge funds, private equity firms started buying single-family homes at scale. Not to live in them. To rent them. Invitation Homes, one of the largest single-family rental companies in America, owns over 80,000 homes. BlackRock-backed entities own tens of thousands more. In some Atlanta suburbs, institutional investors purchased more than 25% of all homes sold in a single quarter in 2021. When a hedge fund and a young family compete for the same house, the hedge fund wins. It always wins. It has no emotional attachment. It has no deadline. It has no maximum loan amount based on income. It has access to capital at rates that first-time buyers cannot touch. Every house purchased by an institutional investor is a house removed from the ownership market and placed into the rental market permanently. The supply shrinks. The prices go up. The hedge fund collects rent from the people it outbid. It is a machine specifically designed to extract wealth from the people who would have built it. Meanwhile, local zoning laws in most American cities make it functionally illegal to build the kind of dense, moderately priced housing that would actually increase supply and put downward pressure on prices. Single-family zoning covering 75% of residential land in most major cities means you cannot build an apartment building, a townhouse row, or a duplex in the neighborhoods where people actually want to live. The supply stays low. The demand stays high. The prices go up. The homeowners who bought in 2010 love this. Their net worth is compounding nicely. Everyone who hasn't bought yet is getting quietly priced out. And the people who were supposed to fix this are largely the people it's making wealthy. This is not a rant. This is the mechanism. This is why the math looks the way it looks. And understanding the mechanism is the only way to make a decision about your own situation with clear eyes instead of just hoping the market will eventually come back down to you. Spoiler. It probably won't. Or if it does, it will be because something much worse happened to the economy first. Okay, I can already hear the comments. But Nick, what about first-time homebuyer programs? What about down payment assistance? What about adjustable rate mortgages? What about buying somewhere cheaper? All fair. Let's address them quickly. First-time homebuyer programs are real, and if you qualify, you should absolutely use them. But they mostly address the down payment problem, not the income problem. Getting $10,000 in down payment assistance does not change the fact that you need to earn $181,000 a year to comfortably service the ongoing costs of the median home. It just gets you in the door. The door that costs $4,243 a month to keep open. Adjustable rate mortgages can lower your initial payment. They can also reset in 5 to 7 years to a higher rate, which is a risk you are taking on specifically because you couldn't afford the house at the fixed rate in the first place. Buying a risk you don't fully understand in order to afford a house you technically cannot afford. At current rates is how 2008 happened. We have seen this movie. Buying somewhere cheaper is a real option for some people and a completely theoretical option for others. If your job is remote and you have genuine location flexibility, buying in a lower cost market is a legitimate move. But most jobs are not remote. Most people have families, communities, obligations that anchor them to a specific geography. Telling someone who works in a hospital in Seattle to just move to Omaha is not advice. It's a suggestion that their entire life should be rebuilt around the inconvenience of the housing market. Now here's the part that matters. Because this is a Nick Invests video and I am constitutionally incapable of showing you a problem without showing you the actual framework to think about it clearly. There are exactly 3 variables in this equation: income, down payment, and home price. You can only control 2 of them. Home price in your market is largely set by forces you cannot move, which means the only levers you actually have are your income and your down payment. And I want to show you what moving those levers actually does to the math. Scenario 1. Marcus and Priya wait 2 more years. They continue saving aggressively. Get their savings from $52,000 to $104,000. They put 20% down on a $520,000 home instead of 10%. They eliminate the PMI. They reduce the loan balance. Their all-in monthly cost drops from $5,180 to $4,620. Better. Still 48% of take-home. Still uncomfortably high. But $560 a month better. Which over 30 years is a meaningful number. Scenario 2. They target a $380,000 home in a slightly less prestigious neighborhood 12 minutes further out. All-in monthly cost drops to approximately $3,400. That's 35% of take-home. Still above the 28% guideline but survivable. They have $2,000 a month left instead of $1,000. Their retirement contributions stay intact. Their emergency fund stays intact. They are not one transmission replacement away from a credit card spiral. Scenario 3. They do what the lender approved them for. $520,000 home. 10% down. Full send. They are house rich, cash poor, and completely inflexible for the next decade. Any income disruption, any major expense, any plan that costs money, requires either debt or selling the house. The lender made their commission. The bank is collecting their interest. Marcus and Priya are servicing a decision that was made at a 90-minute appointment with a person they will never see again. Here is the framework. The one I want you to write down. Actually write it down. Total monthly housing costs, meaning mortgage principal and interest, property taxes, insurance, PMI if applicable, HOA if applicable, should not exceed 28% of your gross monthly income. If you want to be conservative, which in 2026 you probably should be, use 25%. Total monthly housing costs should not exceed 36% of your gross monthly income when combined with all other debt payments, car loans, student loans, credit cards, everything. You should have at least 20% for a down payment before you buy. Not because 20% is a magic number, but because PMI is a tax you pay for not having it, and because buying at 80% LTV gives you a buffer against a market correction that buying at 90% or 95% does not. If the math doesn't work inside those guardrails, the house is too expensive for your actual financial situation. Regardless of what the lender said. Regardless of what your in-laws think about throwing money away on rent. Regardless of what the market might do in the next 5 years. The bank's approval is a ceiling on what you're allowed to borrow, not a recommendation for how much you should spend. That is a distinction the mortgage industry counts on you not making. Now let me show you what doing this differently actually looks like. Because there's always a version of the story that ends differently. Meet Devin and Yara. Same city as Marcus and Priya. Same income bracket. $154,000 combined. They looked at the homes their pre-approval covered. They looked at the math. They said no. They bought a $310,000 townhouse in a neighborhood that wasn't their first choice. Their neighbors thought they were being overly cautious. Devin's mother asked if they needed help finding a real estate agent who could show them something nicer. Their all-in monthly housing cost is $2,950. That's 29% of their gross income. Their combined take-home after taxes and benefits is $9,200. After housing, they have $6,250 for everything else. They are maxing out their 401 kiloseconds. They have 7 months of expenses in a high-yield savings account. Last year, when Yara's company had layoffs and she spent 3 months between jobs, they did not panic. They did not call the bank. They drew down the savings account, covered the gap, and rebuilt. Because they built a financial life sized for one income, not two. That is not a story about sacrifice. That is a story about margin. And margin is the only thing that actually matters when something goes wrong. And something always goes wrong. So let's finally answer the question in the title. Who can actually afford to buy a house in 2026? Under responsible financial guidelines, buying the median American home at $419,000 requires a household income of approximately $150,000 to $180,000 depending on your state, your property tax rate, your HOA situation, and how aggressively you want to maintain your other financial goals. That income range represents roughly the top 20% to 25% of American households. If you want to buy in any major metropolitan area at the median price for that market, you're likely looking at a required income of $200,000 to $300,000. In Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York, Seattle, Miami, the math requires incomes that put you in the top 10% of earners in those cities just to hit the 28% threshold on a median home. Not to live lavishly, just to buy the median house without imploding. The other 75% to 80% of American households are not priced out because they're bad with money. They're not priced out because they drink too much coffee or can't stop subscribing to streaming services. They are priced out because the mechanism that set housing prices in this country spent 15 years running a process that had a predictable and inevitable outcome. And the outcome is that the median home now costs twice what the median household can responsibly afford. So here's what I actually want you to do. Before you open Zillow tonight, before you book another appointment with a lender who is going to tell you with great enthusiasm exactly how much they're willing to let you borrow, spend 30 minutes running the full number, not the monthly payment. The full all-in monthly cost including taxes, insurance, PMI, HOA, and maintenance reserve. Compare it to 28% of your gross monthly income. Then compare it to 28% of just one income. Because your job security and your partner's job security are two separate variables and they do not correlate. And ask yourself one honest question. Can I actually afford this? Or have I just been told that I can? Because there is a version of homeownership that builds wealth. The version where you buy inside your means, build equity, stay flexible, and come out of the experience with more options than you went in with. And there is a version that quietly transfers your financial future into a series of monthly payments to a bank, a tax authority, an insurance company, and an HOA board. The difference between those two versions is not which house you buy. It's whether you ran the actual math before you signed. The real estate agent is not going to run it for you. The lender is not going to run it for you. The excited relative asking when you're going to stop throwing money away on rent is absolutely not going to run it for you. The only person in this entire transaction who has any interest in your financial outcome after the papers are signed is you. So be the person who ran the numbers, not the payment. The numbers. All of them. Because in 2026, the gap between being approved and being able to afford it has never been wider. And it is the only gap that matters.